it's Wendy. Welcome to Show Me Mo Vegan. Today I wanted to do a video because it's a special day. 1 year ago, on April 17th, 2021, I made what would turn out to be the most life-changing decision I've ever made. Now, I know that sounds kind of hyperbolic, but it's not an exaggeration, it's true. And that decision was to go vegan. At the time, I didn't realize how impactful this decision would be. I just knew I had to do it. And now, like most vegans, I only wish I had done it sooner. But things happen when they happen. I can't change the 3 decades I spent as a non-vegan. All I can do is move forward knowing that I'm no longer contributing to the suffering of trillions of animals. I know that every bit of food that I put in my mouth has a drastically lower impact on our precious environment, and I know that I'm fueling my body the way nature intended, and allowing my body to heal from the chronic conditions I developed over 30 years of assaulting it with the wrong foods. So on this 1 year anniversary, I wanted to reflect and share a little of my story with you. In the 3 or 4 years prior to going vegan, I had been suffering with ulcerative colitis. I didn't like the drugs that my doctor gave me because of the side effects, and I believed there had to be a better way. So I started experimenting with an elimination diet. I removed processed foods, dairy, as well as some other foods from my diet in an effort to improve my UC symptoms. This helped some of the time, but my symptoms always came back. So after about 2 years of this trial and error approach with my diet, I had given up on the idea of using food as medicine and resigned myself to the idea that I would just have to deal with UC symptoms for the rest of my life. So although my channel is focused on healthy vegan eating, I wasn't thinking about health when I went vegan. I watched a speech by vegan activist Gary Yourofsky on YouTube, and my world was turned upside down. I've truly never experienced something so profound, but I was shaken and disturbed to my core. He wasn't really saying anything I didn't already logically know. I just had never thought about it or questioned it before. The way our society and culture is set up, it's really easy to push these facts aside and to compartmentalize what we all know deep down to be wrong. It's hard to be confronted with these facts, so we often dismiss them just to make ourselves feel better. But for whatever reason, I was ready to hear this message. And once I heard it, I was numb for about 2 weeks as I contemplated the facts and had to confront the cognitive dissonance that I felt. I realized the ramifications of my food choices, and I realized that I was a hypocrite, claiming to be a compassionate person who tried to do no harm, and yet at the same time consuming products that were the result of extreme cruelty and harm. I knew there was no other way for me to move forward but to be vegan. So I donated all of the animal products I had left and went vegan right away. During the years prior to going vegan, when I was suffering with ulcerative colitis, I had developed some disordered eating patterns. I was obsessed with trying to find the healthiest way to eat. But once I saw Gary's speech, none of that mattered anymore. I realized I had to choose a less selfish way to eat and think of others when I decided what to put on my plate. And ironically, this turned out to be what I had been looking for all along. Within literally 2 weeks after going vegan, my UC symptoms were gone. Now, I was a little hesitant at first. I thought maybe it was a fluke, but here we are a year later and still no symptoms. If you're interested in hearing more about my vegan and health journeys, I'll link below a couple of blog posts that I wrote with more details. You can see some of the foods that I was eating during that transitional period, and I was still dealing with those disordered eating habits, so I had a long way to go. But now I've learned of the overwhelming body of scientific literature that points in the direction of a plant-based diet. Not only does this research show that a whole food vegan diet can halt the progression of many chronic diseases, but it can actually reverse them, as I've appeared to do with my UC. In addition to that, I've also gotten my high cholesterol back to a normal level, and I've gotten adult acne under control. I also just feel better than I ever have before, physically, mentally, and emotionally. After going vegan, I felt this weight that I didn't know I was carrying lifted off of my shoulders. It's hard to explain, but life literally just feels easier. Are there any vegans out there who know what I'm talking about? Let me know your stories down in the comments. But for me, things that used to seem difficult just don't seem so bad anymore. I have much more hope for the future. There are a lot of terrible things in this world that used to make me feel completely hopeless. But even the world's biggest problems now seem a little more manageable. We all have a long way to go, but I have a lot more optimism about the future. Over the last year, I've also been able to see this diet transform the lives of others. Shortly after I went vegan, my parents were a little concerned, wondering whether or not it was healthy and sustainable. So I showed them a few documentaries, including What the Health, The Game Changers, and Forks Over Knives. And not only did these quell their fears, but it resonated with them, and they decided to join me. It was a struggle at first, especially in the beginning. Some of the changes were challenging. But as we went on, it became easier and easier, as we saw the immediate benefits and never looked back. Both of my parents have gotten off their blood pressure and cholesterol medicines. My mom is off almost all of her diabetes meds, and my dad's diabetes is under much better control. He's well on his way to reducing his medicine as well. Without even trying, they dropped more than 30 to 40 pounds each. But I think the most surprising result has been my dad's energy level. For many years, my dad suffered with a gut condition that his doctors couldn't identify. But the condition required him to get iron infusions every 3 months, just so he could get through the day. He had such low energy. But now it's been well over a year since his last iron infusion, and he has more energy than he had before. So if anyone tells you you can't get enough iron on a plant-based diet, I beg to differ. After seeing the profound effects of this lifestyle on myself and my parents, I wanted to share our stories and hopefully inspire someone else to give it a try. What do you have to lose? There aren't really any negatives to eating more plants, and there are plenty of positives to saying goodbye to the animal products. I'm still learning too, and I hope you'll continue learning along with me. So please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to continue on this journey with me as I go into year 2 as a vegan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. At the time, I didn't realize how impactful this decision... I didn't know how... At the time, I didn't realize how impactful this decision... Oh, why is this so hard? Okay.